India is close to China in terms of modernity and engineering and infrastructure is not telling the truth. Whether it be an Indian trying to convince you of this or someone who's a foreigner trying to make up some story, it's like, that's not even close. China is way more modern than India. And if you're a female traveler in India, it's just going to be way more unsafe for you. And the aggressive sales culture that exists in India doesn't really exist in China. And today we're going to compare India and China. And some of you guys were asking what my thoughts are because you know I've been to both. I've spent more than 2 weeks in both. I've just spent a little bit more time in China than I have in India. I do recommend both countries for tourism, but I want to break it down and give you guys some insights into what my experience in both China and India was. So let's talk about arrival. So when I first arrived, the first impression, passport-wise, I would say that I got grilled way more in India than I did in China. China is a pretty straightforward arrival. You're not going to get bullied very much by immigration. I feel as though when I arrived into immigration in India, there was a bit of bullying going on by the immigration officers. They kind of joke around and play with you. You're sitting there for like 20 minutes trying to figure out if you're ever going to get accepted into India, even though you give them your visa. Whereas with China, it's just very straightforward. I mean, this is just my opinion and my experience. I've been into China many times, well, 3 times now in the last year. And every time I went there, it was just very smooth. They ask a couple questions, but they don't try to bully you or play any games with you. Whereas in India, when I went there, I felt like immigration officers like to play a game with the tourists. And I don't really like that too much. But that was my first impression in India. But once I got in there, the next thing I needed to know was about taxis to the hotel where I'm going to go next. In India, I was confronted by someone who pretended to be an Uber driver. They weren't actually an Uber driver. They led me through the stairs and up into this like car park. I found out that they weren't actually an Uber driver or a taxi driver. They were just driving a regular car. You have a little bit of that in China, but in China, it was more straightforward. And even those people who were driving regular cars, they were a little bit more honest without the scamming. So there wasn't as much scamming at the airport in China or at the train stations as there was in India. And I know that people are going to get upset about this opinion, but it's just me sharing my honest feedback about my first impressions and arrival in China versus India. So the next thing is comparing the transportation, the airports in Delhi or Mumbai versus the airports in Shenzhen and, Shanghai. And honestly, I mean, the airports in Delhi were okay. The airport in Goa it looks like it needs modernization. The airport in Rishikesh was all right. That one was actually decent. It's outside of the city, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's hard to beat the airports in China. China is going to, again, take the edge on airports. And then when it comes to trains, it's not even comparable because the trains in India are so old. And honestly, they're dirty. And you could feel like you're going to get sick on a train in India, whereas in China, the trains are very modern, they're fast, the whole system works really good. I mean, the public transportation, again, in China gets the edge across the board in terms of modernity, and India has a long way to go with all of that stuff. Even when you're driving on the roads in India, sometimes the driver will drive in the middle of the road in between, you have like the dotted lines or whatever. I mean, they just drive right in the middle of the road. It's almost like a free-for-all on the freeways in India. And it is what it is. It works. It's organized chaos. But I'm just saying in China, I felt like the transportation also gets the edge going to, China. You could get into other forms of transportation like rickshaws. You could talk about taxis, rideshare. Again, there's a little bit of scamming that goes on in India. It's a bit cheaper, I would say, to do a rickshaw or to do a taxi in India. But the car is just going to generally be in better shape and you're not going to get as much scams in China. As far as food goes, I really like Indian cuisine and I like Chinese cuisine. They're both very good. I will say that the likelihood that you get sick eating Indian food is a bit higher though. I mean, you can get a tummy ache in both places if you eat street food, of course. But I would say the food is delicious in India. The food is delicious in China. It's just the food quality, I feel like, is more fresh in China. China, just generally speaking, has more fresh food, but both have good herbs, good spices. I mean, they're both very delicious as a cuisine. All right. So China does feel like it's futuristic with its like QR codes and everything. And, when you pay, everything's done on your phone. In China, you need an Alipay app. In India, the likelihood that you'll be using anything other than cash is very low. So most of the time you're using cash. So it's like if you're talking about money, transacting, China, QR codes, India, credit cards, debit cards, or really cash. That's a big thing. I mean, that's a huge thing because old people, I've noticed, really struggle with understanding how to set up Alipay or WeChat Pay, especially since those systems, those mega apps, they will unbind your card and they make it hard. I could see like someone who's an old person just getting really discouraged being in China trying to use Alipay or WeChat Pay just because the apps keep kicking them off with verification issues. I know they do it to me and I'm pretty tech savvy. I could only imagine what a 65-year-old person who's not very tech savvy feels when they go to China versus India. So it's just a little bit easier, go with the flow in India than it is in China. China, it feels like you need a little bit more education or experience online to really make sense of it. And I think some people don't have the aptitude for all of that. It's good for Chinese who are there every time because they get used to it, right? But for a foreigner, it's just not good. As far as tourist attractions go, so China obviously has the Great Wall of China, which is a 7 wonders of the world. India has the Taj Mahal, 7 wonders of the world. China also has the Forbidden City, the Terracotta Army. It's got futuristic cities like Shanghai, Shenzhen, mountain scenery, mega infrastructure. It's got panda bears. I mean, it's got some Avatar mountains, Tiananmen Mountain. It's got a lot of beautiful stuff. Both of them, interestingly, sit along the Himalayas. The Himalayas to the south are in India, and the Himalayas to the north are in China. So you have Bhutan and you have Tibet in the north, and then you have all the beautiful areas where just south of Nepal. Really nice high altitude places. India also has Varanasi. It has the Amber Fort, spiritual tourism. It's got ancient civilizations. I would say both have historical sites that are interesting to tourists. The thing that is really going to stand out is probably the infrastructure at those locations. For example, if you go to Taj Mahal, just an absolutely beautiful palace type place, but the infrastructure all around there is not very good. Also, the crowds. The crowd control can be a bit hectic. I mean, in China, you also get a lot of crowd issues. I mean, you'll be in a paradise place or like in a nature setting and there'll be like hundreds or thousands of tourists just chirping away, just blah, 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 blah. It's like if you're going to go to a nature place, what do you want in nature? Peace and quiet, sound mind, quietness. But you go to a place in China in the nature and there's just tourists all around on every path and everything, and they're just really loud and all that. And so it's really hard to enjoy the nature in China because of all the chit chat and the crowds. You also get that in India though. But I would have to say, as far as infrastructure goes, China just has better tourist infrastructure than India. And India has a lot of beautiful things to see. I mean, they have the nature with, you could do the safaris, checking out the tigers and the elephants. You could go so many different places in India, but also you have beautiful nature in China. I would say the wild animals, though, in India are a bit better. I would say if you're someone who likes wild animals, you're going to have more experience or access to wild animals in India over China. I feel like, you don't really get a chance to see wild pandas or any sort of wild animals anywhere in China. I don't know why that is, actually. They do have some birds, but other than that, there's not much wild animals that I really saw an opportunity to have. As far as safety goes, I'm gonna have to give this one to China. China's just really safe. India's pretty safe too, but you just have this general feeling that China's really safe. You're not gonna have to deal with violent crime. Even petty theft is not very common. There's not many scams going on. There might be a few scams, but the one downside to that is the language barrier in China. That's a pain in the butt. Whereas in India, people might speak a little bit more English, but there's way more scams that you have to avoid. And if you're a female traveler in India, it's just going to be way more unsafe for you. For a male traveler in India, it's probably not as bad for a guy like me as it would be for a female. Whereas in China, you can walk around pretty much anywhere at night and not have to worry about that. And the aggressive sales culture that exists in India doesn't really exist in China. Also, I would say India, though, has more of a hospitality culture. I would say there's just something about the friendliness of India where people are very friendly and just it's a warm feeling that you get. People in China are friendly and you do get smiles but you just feel like there's more warmth coming from Indians. I feel like India is a little bit more friendly as far as that goes, but they do scam you a little bit more, so it could be fake, right? Also, India can be a bit more mentally exhausting if you're trying to travel there than it is in China. China might give you less stress, right? Now, if you're talking about prices, I would say in the big cities, they're kind of comparable, but I would say the value is what you need to be asking. I say China has more value, but I would say India is more affordable, less expensive, even in the big cities for the hotels and all that. But if you're talking about value, bang for your buck, just the value of everything, China is better, but it's more expensive in China. Not by much, but by a bit. And trains can be affordable and they're good quality in China. In India, they'll be cheap, but they won't be very good quality. So what's more important to you, paying another dollar extra or what? And getting something nice. In China, the hotels are modern and efficient. In India, they have some modern and efficient hotels, but I don't know, man. It can be kind of a risky thing. As far as toilets go, people like to say that the squatting toilet in China is a bit of an issue. I know some female travelers will avoid going to China just because they're scared of the squatting toilets. I didn't really come across too many squatting toilets in China, although they do exist. Whereas in India, yeah, you've got squatting toilets, you've got all sorts of holes in the ground. And if you went into like the average bathroom in India, it's not as clean as China. So yeah, I'm going to have to give that one to China probably. Cultural personality differences, both are friendly, both are laid back, chill, both are modern. Well, modern mentality, they're liberal, I guess you could say, like flexible. They're conservative, but they're liberal. They're not as judgmental, I guess you could say. Neither of them are judgmental. I just feel like India has more warmth to it, whether they're trying to warm you up so they can get more money out of you or what, I don't know. Or if it's genuine, maybe it is genuine. I would say both are good. They both have strong family connections and cultural stuff like that. India just speaks a little bit more English, so that makes it easier. But I would say the censorship in China kind of is always weighing down on you. It's like, did you say something wrong? Could you say something wrong? Did you do something wrong? Whereas in India, I don't really feel like you're dealing with that. But I would say China feels more engineered. India feels more organic and real. I know that I've talked to people who absolutely love going to India, and they say like India is like the ultimate travel experience. I just recently went to China for 45 days, and I said like China's the ultimate travel experience right now in 2026. It just depends on what your stress tolerance is and how much you can, let things slide with pollution and lack of infrastructure. Because if you can India might be good for someone who really wants super cheap travel, warm locals, warm feeling, not so good infrastructure, lots of pollution, lots of loud noises. Like China is just way more quiet than India. China around the streets, they've almost got electric cars, electric motorbikes, all of that. Whereas in India, it's like honk, honk, honk. The bikes and everything. It's just so much loud. It's like a sensory overload. In China, you don't really experience sensory overload like that. So those are the big differences. I mean, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I know I've probably upset some people, but I would have to say that both are worth a visit. For me, I would give it to China. I would say China is way more modern than India. I know people from India would always say that it's so modern in India, but I didn't see anything really modern. I mean, I went to like the best area of Delhi. I went to the best area of Mumbai. Like Mumbai is not really that modern. Like you could drive all around Mumbai or anywhere in India and just realize, like, as a foreigner, I mean, if you're to remove any sort of bias and you just call balls and strikes, or you just call it straight how you see it, China is like way more modern than India. Way more modern. Not even close. And I'm not saying that makes it better, okay? Because I even think China in some ways is more modern than the United States or most of the rest of the world anyway. But I'm saying, like, in comparison to India, it's like it's not even comparable. Like, India has way more pollution, lacking in infrastructure, lacking in engineering, whereas China just has all of that. I mean, even with the bullet trains, compare the airports, I mean, it's just so much more modern. So it's not even close. And anyone who tells you that India is close to China in terms of modernity and engineering and infrastructure is not telling the truth. Whether it be an Indian trying to convince you of this or someone who's a foreigner trying to make up some story, it's like that's not even close. China is way more modern than India. And that has nothing to do with picking a side or playing favorites. That's just like all you need is two eyes to look around you and go to those places. Spend some time in Mumbai, spend some time in Goa, spend some time in Rishikesh, spend some time in Delhi, and spend some time in Shenzhen, Shanghai, Beijing, Chengdu, Chongqing. Compare them. Tell me what you think. I mean, even if you look in like the rural countryside, like when you're going around the rural countryside in India, you'll see cows, monkeys, trash, all like kind of lined up. The rivers, like you probably wouldn't even want to swim in a river in India. In China, probably wouldn't want to swim in those rivers either. That's because like even when I was at the Yangtze in Chongqing or the Yellow River, like I never really saw anyone swimming, so maybe you can't swim in those either. But I mean, if I had to pick, like if someone said, okay, dude, you can only swim in one in order to win $1 million, which one will you pick? I will take China rivers over India rivers. And I've been, to Rishikesh and seen that river, the Ganges, and it looked cool, but I mean, the higher up into the Himalayas I went, the more I was interested in possibly getting in the water. But the further south I went, I was just like, I couldn't do it. So pollution-wise, India is way more polluted than China. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think. Sorry if I upset anyone in this one. Hopefully you guys understand this is just an